Engine 1 for Car 1. Car 1's on scene. Assume in command. Give me a CAN report.
What's going on, everybody? This is Mike Goldstein. Stickers of the CAN report. Nozzle top, everybody. I have Maine in the house. I have a gentleman here who's got the same haircut as me, but he's got a better mustache. So I'm happy to have him. Chief Osgood. He's from Ogunquit, Maine, and we met a few times. And he's just a solid person, solid chief, doing great things, actually, for us as a whole in the fire service community. And I wanted to get him on here to talk about what he's doing and how he's helping us to be safer and to be able to live longer and healthier lives. Chief Osgood, thank you for being on the CAN report.
Yeah, I'm great to be here. It's an honor.
Yeah, I appreciate it so much, sir. Before we get into it, I always want to give a shout out to my sponsor, Engine House Designs. Engine House Designs, he makes this awesome hat. He makes those flags. He makes chore coats. He makes pretty much anything you need for your department, your union, your businesses, you name it, he's got it. So hit him up, Engine House Designs, Igniting the Pride. He is a firefighter-owned business out of Memphis, Tennessee. So make sure you're checking him out and seeing what he can do for you. Also, big news I want to put on this one, this is the first time announcing it, is I just teamed up with a solid group. I think, Chief, you'll like it too. The Kitchen Table Foundation. The Kitchen Table Foundation is a mission to help others, first responders, EMS, police. It's a huge network they're building to help people find resources and to help them through life. And they just reached out to me, and I just automatically agreed to help them out and to be a part of this team. Their mission is the Kitchen Table Foundation exists to strengthen the brotherhood and sisterhood of the fire service, law enforcement, and EMS. They provide a place for first responders to gather, break bread, and find connection through camaraderie, shared experience, and support, rooted in tradition, built on trust, and driven by service. They aim to uphold the mental and emotional well-being of those who run toward the call. Their vision, the Kitchen Table Foundation envisions a national community in which every first responder is recognized, supported, and empowered, where connection overcomes isolation, and where the enduring values of service, sacrifice, and solidarity are upheld through every season of the job and beyond. And they stand for TABLE, T-A-B-L-E, teamwork, awareness, bravery, loyalty, and empathy. So I'm excited to have them on as a sponsor. I'm excited to have them on as to help our community, and it's just awesome for all of us to work together to help each other out, just like you're doing, Chief. So with that being said, we're done with all that, and we're going to get into you. So I want to get into your bio here real quick. Chief Osgood, or Russell Osgood, is an experienced fire service leader with nearly 40 years of service, currently serving as Chief of Department in Ogunquit, Maine, where his fire service journey began in 1985. He went on to spend more than 2 decades with the Portsmouth, New Hampshire Fire Department, where the tragic deaths of 2 young colleagues, Sarah Fox and Jeff Bokum, led him to become deeply involved with the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. Since 2011, Russell has been at the forefront of the fire service's response to occupational cancer. He was a key developer for Firefighter Cancer Support Network's flagship cancer prevention education program, now delivered nationwide, and he led the creation of Doing It Right, a practical behavior-based training initiative designed to drive immediate culture change in how departments address cancer risk. Russell played a central role in developing the special cancer education of Crackle magazine, which also has Frank Lieb as their head director, the first publication of its kind devoted entirely to firefighter cancer awareness, prevention, detection, and treatment. He serves on the Firefighter Cancer Cohort Study Oversight and Planning Board, the Detect Together Fire Service Advisory Board, and the Crackle Magazine Advisory Board. He also oversees FCSN's National Skin Cancer Screening Initiative in collaboration with the American Academy of Dermatology. A nationally respected speaker and advocate, Russell regularly presents to audiences ranging from large fire service conferences to kitchen table conversations at local stations. His articles and presentations focus on practical, experience-driven strategies to reduce cancer risk, improve firefighter wellness, and support members and families facing a cancer diagnosis. I love it, Chief. It's long, but I love it because it's really, really important. And I know you gave me the shorter version, but I was reading both, and I got to say, I much rather the long version because I don't want to shortchange what you're doing. You're doing some amazing stuff.
Oh, thanks. It's an honor to be able to do it, for one thing. It's not. I mean, it sounds like a lot, but it's all from the heart, and it's good. And I love this kitchen table foundation. I love the kitchen table because it's a great place in the firehouse where all the problems can be solved. And really, most of the stuff that we focus on in health and safety, those discussions happening at a kitchen table really do make a difference. So that's
Absolutely.
awesome.
So we'll just jump right into it. So obviously, the background of your former colleagues passing from cancer, was that your main drive to start this?
Yeah, I think so. Sarah Fox and I were fairly close friends in the fire service. We went to paramedic school together. She came on the job a few years after I did in Portsmouth, and she instantly fit right in. Was one of the team, and we all really liked her, loved her to death. She got pregnant and went on to light duty, as she should, to protect kids. She was around the firehouse a lot, so everybody really got to know her because instead of being on one group, now she was with all the groups. So that bond grew even bigger and bigger while she was there. And unfortunately, when she was diagnosed, it was the day she gave birth to her twins.
Hmm.
And she virtually gave birth and had a double mastectomy following it, it was a huge tragedy, but that, saved her and got her to come back to work. But it wasn't too long after that, she started having a pain in her hip, and it went out with an aggressive form of breast cancer that had metastasized. And I really didn't have any thought about cancer in the fire service really until that happened. And a lot of things happened around Sarah's sickness that the department in Portsmouth changed quite a bit. We kind of adopted her and her family and took really good care of them for a couple years while she went through her battle. Raised hundreds of thousands of dollars. We did some wonderful projects, and that kind of outreach really it resonated with me. And I do other outreach too. I had a 4-H club that we raised food for underserved people. I've done some medical missions to Guatemala and things like that. So service to others has always been something that I really kind of enjoyed. And Sarah's death was a pretty big had a big impact on me. It's like I had worked a lot, organized a lot of people, brought a lot of people together, did a lot of good. And when it ended, it was kind of tough. And I guess that's something that everybody would face. But that day that she died, another coworker of ours, Jeff Bolcom, was diagnosed with cancer. And 6 months later, he died too. So those two things really started a discussion around our firehouse about what's going on. Of course, if you know Portsmouth, we had a fire station on Pease Air Force Base. There was no military base. So, of course, people get thinking, oh, there's something buried underneath the building, and they put all the hazardous waste out in the yard or whatever, and I did a bunch of research, and really we were no different than any other fire department. This cancer epidemic has been around for decades. And I think we started recognizing it around 2013 in a little bit more of a light. But you can go back to the 80s and find documentation from the International Association of Firefighters that talk about the risks that we talk about today. And in New Hampshire, we did some pretty remarkable things early on when Perry Plummer became the director of the Fire Academy. He he engaged a whole bunch of folks that came together, and we developed a cancer awareness program that was accepted statewide and required for all Firefighter 1 students. And that was something that I was really proud of. And at that time, I started getting involved with Firefighter Cancer Support Network. And at a meeting, I brought up that what New Hampshire had been doing, and that kind of exploded into where I am today. Um, if it wasn't for the folks in New Hampshire that took this on and really helped us develop that program, I don't think we would be where we are today with the program that we teach at the FCSN. And there was a whole bunch of people involved in the FCSN program, but we really took the program that we developed in New Hampshire, and one from Florida and one from Ohio, and we piloted a new program with the city of Boston, and we got a ton of great feedback there. Like, those guys were really they're open to change. They're learning. Joe Finn was the fire commissioner at the time, and he really worked with us, and we got to know him pretty well. and it just exploded into this training program that we use today. And we've trained thousands of firefighters in cancer prevention. So it's been an awesome trip. Great
That's
journey.
amazing. What is the program? What is it that you're doing with that program?
So the program really it focuses first on what the issues are, right? Like we know we have a cancer problem. I don't think I think back in 2013, it wasn't as well recognized, and we issued a white paper back then that said, these are the issues, these are the cancers that we're seeing, the research that needs to be done. And since that time, a lot of that has been going on, and we're getting a much better picture of what's happening within the fire service. Although there's a ton more to do. A lot more research is needed, particularly around different treatments and screenings and things that are offered to the fire service. But the program that we have now in place, it talks about what the risks are. It goes over what your modifiable risk factors are and how you can prevent cancer every single day by doing everyday asks. They're just simple things that you can pay attention to every day in your life to make a difference. And then it goes into early detection and screenings and what that should look like for the fire service. We talk about what those on-scene and preventative actions are, what you can do back at the firehouse. And then we talk a little bit about how you should report things, how you should keep track of the incidents that you go to, because presumptive legislations are so different in all the different communities and states that it's important to have a good understanding of that and track your exposures. And then we go right into what happens if you're diagnosed with cancer and what kind of things can you be offered to help with that process and fight it and become a cancer survivor and somebody that can mentor others that are going through it.
Wow, it's truly amazing that the work that you're all doing with that. And I know, especially for New Hampshire, we've had some major losses due to cancer, right? For my department and for Hampton Fire as well, we share the same loss with Kyle Jameson, and I love that we don't forget these people. And I think fire service as a whole, we do a great job with paying our respects and remembering those who have lost their lives. And Kyle, definitely for us, he was a shining light in the state. He was a shining light for Derry Fire and Hampton Fire. We still have his gear that we have at Station 4 that we make sure, like, we do a good cancer training for our recruits. It's not in depth like Firefighter Cancer Support Network, but we make sure that they understand. There's a video that Kyle had put together before his passing to talk about the importance, right? I know you know it. I know you've seen it. And it's a touching video. It's very somber. It really hits you right in the heart, but it's so important. And once we have our recruits watch that, we then bring him out to the bay, and then we make them clean his locker. So they make sure that we're dusting everything off and paying him the ultimate respect that he deserves. And then we also have Jess Wyman. Her passing was just a few, I think, like last month. Was last month. And, that's been 2 years now, and that still hurts a lot of people. It still hits home. She, again, another shining light in the fire service. She did so much, and she did a lot of studying. She must have worked with you, correct?
Yeah. So Jess, when Jess did Camp Fully Involved, Sarah's daughter, and my daughter went through the Camp Fully Involved at the same time with Jess. Through the Portsmouth Firefighters Charitable Association, we developed a grant for Camp Fully Involved for Jess's program, so we could encourage more young women. We were lucky to we sent dozens of young ladies through that program, and it was great. And I used to teach there, and Jess was Jess was a big loss. Jess was a big advocate. She helped a lot. It's a big loss. And the funny thing, some of it is some of Jess's friends that I met through Camp Fully Involved and through Jess now work with the FCSN as well.
That's fantastic.
As educators and mentors and state directors. And it's pretty awesome that reach goes so far so quick in the fire service. It's kind of crazy sometimes.
It really does, because you always have that mindset, it's never going to happen to me, or it's never going to hit that close to home. When all of a sudden it hits close to home, because I had worked with Jess when I was on Nashua Fire and as a dispatcher, and she was always so pleasant, and she was just always a joy to work with. She was always so cool, calm, collective on the radio and on the phone. And It's a big loss. And, she did so much good in the world as a firefighter, as a lieutenant for Nashville Fire, and working with Southern New Hampshire Medical Center, and for everybody to develop these great programs. Um, and then, we have Kyle, and now we also have you work with Dave McElroy.
Yep.
With the Cancer Support Network as well, and he's battling his own cancer. That he's very public about it, and I think that's important that he's spreading that news and that information of you need to take care of yourself because you don't want to spend all your time having to deal with what I have to deal with. And he's become a huge advocate for it. So you guys travel around as well, correct, with this program?
Yeah, I've taught all over the country. I've taught at FDIC. I think before we got talking, I think maybe it's been 8 or 9 years I've taught this same program at FDIC. It started out as a train the trainer, and now it's just it's one of the daily sessions. The cool thing with FDIC is that I think they recognize the fact that it's needed, and they've never said no to me to deliver it, which I think is awesome.
That's
But,
fantastic.
the FCSN has developed through grant funding, through FEMA grants. We've gotten some fire prevention and safety grants to make this a train the trainer program, and we've delivered it across the nation as a train the trainer. So we're out there teaching other states, leadership, people to go out and teach to their states. So states like Pennsylvania has started to do it. Texas adopted it, and actually Texas made it mandatory that every firefighter in Texas have it by the end of this year, or maybe the end of next year, but it's soon. So I've had thousands of firefighters in Texas take the program, and we've trained a dozen or so instructors in Texas to go out and teach it. California just adopted it. We just worked with Cal Fire, which is the largest fire department in the U.S. They're gigantic, and they've been great. They've adopted the program. We did 4 train the trainers out there, and we're planning on doing more. I've been working with the FDNY with skin cancer screenings for the past couple years, and now we're having conversations about bringing our training into the FDNY. So it's kind of a neat progression that's going on with the program. And I think it speaks to how simple it is. We don't try to overcomplicate it. We don't try to drag on the information. The simple fact is firefighters get cancer from what we're exposed to. There's really simple things we can do to mitigate that risk. We just have to do them.
What are they?
So, it starts with real simple things like everyday asks. We want folks to understand that a lot of the risk that you have for cancer is just from things that, happen every day. It's the same as everyone else, not smoking, don't drink excessively. I know the fire service has this, we have a romance with alcohol a little bit, and which is cool. And some, when you're young, but as you get older, like me, like I can't do that anymore. And we really shouldn't be. We have kind of a binge drinking problem. And I always tell folks, the general rule of thumb is 1 a day for the ladies, 2 for the guys, and you can't save them up and have them all on the weekend. I think we miss that point sometimes, and we save up and have them a lot on the weekends. But
Yeah.
that leads to problems. And then there's obesity in the fire service, our diet and exercise, all those things play a role in preventing and helping to kind of, mitigate some of the stuff that we're exposed to. And then on scene, it's wearing your SCBA from the beginner fire tech to end overhaul. And that end overhaul thing I should not see a picture of a firefighter in a building that has smoke not on SCBA or having some protection, at least some. The days of when you get back and you blow your nose and you get the handful of black, if you're seeing that, you're doing it wrong. You're not doing it right. You're getting exposed, and that's not healthy for us. Is one exposure going to be the problem? Probably not, like no big deal. But, you don't go to one fire, you don't go to one incident, you go to hundreds over your career. And all it takes is to get to the point where you tip that scale in your genetic makeup, and you've got cancer, and there's no turning it back. It happens, it happens. And then things like, after you come out of the fire, doing post-exposure reduction through wet decon, showering when you get back to the firehouse, make sure your stations are clean. All those little things that you do make a big difference. And unfortunately for us, we have a risk above the general population to get cancer. It's 9 and 14%, 9% higher risk of getting it, 14% higher risk of dying from it. So we need to work at both those things. So it's not just prevention. It's also about discovering cancer early and not dying from it at younger ages or, more aggressively than the general population. So that speaks to understanding your own health. We work with Dept together as a great group of folks out of Massachusetts that deliver a 3 Steps Detect program that's embedded in our training as well. And it just speaks to, understanding what your great feels like, going and not being outside of that for 2 weeks. So you find something in your system and you're not too sure about, or, it's been bugging you. You've got to make sure that you check back with yourself and you don't let it go too long, and then go to your doctor and have those conversations with your doctor about your risk and what's going on, and take steps to find it. Because if you find cancer early, it's really highly curable.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases. Not all cancers, but skin cancer is a great example. We got a 21% higher risk of the general population. You go to a dermatologist annually, you find a little basal cell or a small melanoma, they cut it out, you're good to go, no problems. But
Yeah,
if you don't do that and it goes past that stage 1 into stage 2, 3, or 4, the chances of surviving it really start to decrease quickly. So
it's interesting you say that, because I as a personal experience, I went through that. I had skin cancer on my leg, and I didn't know what it was. I didn't know what to look for, and it was an awkward spot. And I'm looking at it going, this doesn't look right. And I thought it was like a wart or something. And then it kept like growing, and I showed it to my wife, and it's an ongoing joke because I always bust her chops because I'm like, this doesn't look right. It must be a mole or something. She's like, put some apple cider vinegar on it and it'll help go away. Some old wives' tale, right? So I'm like, I'm doing that. I'm like, it ain't going away.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you know what? This doesn't look right. It doesn't feel right. So I went to see a dermatologist, and they did their test, and like, yeah, you got skin cancer. We'll cut the sucker out. And so I go back for my regular checkups. Now I'm honestly like more on point. I'm like hyper vigilant. Like now I'm like, anytime something comes up, I'm like, is this cancer? Yeah. So I'm always contacting my dermatologist. I'm like, I know I'm seeing paranoid, but since I've had it already, can you just check this spot for me? Cause it looks funky.
That's how you save your own. I mean, you save your own skin that way. Literally save your own skin that way by finding it as early as possible. So it's really important. Yeah.
Now, also, like with Kyle Jameson, he talked a lot about the other side of things, of not just exposure in our gear, like when we're working scenes, but he was very a big advocate about getting primal vents and the exhausts in our stations, and I think it's a lot harder when you have smaller departments, especially the more rural departments that can't afford it, and it's very difficult to upkeep it. But he made it very clear, like that the particulates that come from the exhaust was a big problem from him.
Yeah, and it is still a problem in the fire service that there's a lot of places that don't have air collection. We've always said that the source capture is really the best way to do it, but there's plenty of systems out there that reduce the risk by either, having an air handling system in the station that can manage it, or something on the apparatus. It's really about reducing your exposure to diesel exhaust. And we've known about this issue since the 80s. There was a comprehensive study between, I think it was LA, New York, and Boston, that they did this study about a diesel exhaust, and it came out that it causes not just cancer, but cardiac issues and all kinds of things. That's where we started getting grant funding for putting in Prime vents or that type of a source capture system. But you also have to use it. I've been in the firehouse a long time. I see a lot of hoses hanging that are not attached to the trucks. And it kind of bugs me. Even in my own department, I'll see it occasionally. I'll walk in the morning and see, a hose just dangling there. And if it's not hooked up, you're generally not going to do it just before you leave. I know you can say, oh, I'll hook it up before I start the truck. Well, you're going to bell for a fire come in, the last thing you're thinking about is hooking up the hose. So it
Yeah.
really is one of those things that has to be done right away. Um, and I think we missed that. And honestly, you know, when we taught in Boston, a lot of the complaints were around, well, it breaks and it takes time to fix. And a researcher down at Dana-Farber, Emily Sparrow, did a small study at the time we were teaching in Boston. And she really discovered that the best thing to have is to have both. And I know a lot of manufacturers have latched onto that now. I was at a conference. I was at Science of the Station not too long for their health and safety conference, and Plymouth actually now has a air handling system that is also part of the Plymouth, so it also captures anything that's outside of the direct source capture, and that's really the best thing because when you're backing in, if you're not using it when you're backing in, that's getting some in there, and some departments have got justifications for not having somebody in that position. Yeah, so, but then again. Places that don't have it, it's really simple. Leave the doors up for a little bit longer. You know, it's not rocket science, right? It's about exchanging the air as much as possible.
Now, what are, and I imagine you would think I would come up with this topic as well, since we're talking about cancer and exposures, the gear, gear workouts, and because that's still a very hot button topic.
It is.
So what are your views on that? And what is, as you're teaching these classes?
Yeah. So, PFAS in the fire service, PFAS in general in the environment is not a great thing. It's kind of makes asbestos. It's kind of the same kind of look, it's not great. I think so. I'm trying to be careful with this because I just purchased PFAS-free gear for all my firefighters because I want to remove that risk. And we had the funding to do it right away, so we're doing it. I would tell people that limit your exposure to PFAS as much as possible. So I don't recommend working out in your turnout gear. If you're going to work out in gear, you probably should. They do manufacture sets that are PFAS free. You can buy workout turnouts now that are blue. I forget the
Carnet bunker gear.
Yeah, and that's probably a better use of your time to work out in that kind of an environment instead of unnecessarily exposing yourself. So I think our structural gear has a place, right? It's for structural firefighting. And I always, in the program, I always tell people, like, wear your gear for what it's designed for. So it's designed for structural firefighting. It's designed to protect you from heat and exposure from fire. It's not designed to be a winter coat. It's not designed to wear at the grocery store. It's not designed to work out in. It's designed for structural firefighting. So use it for those fires and don't use it for everyday use. I think that's a simple solution. It may sound simple, but in larger departments, it's not that simple. When you talk about buying a winter coat or a new pair of boots or whatever for a fire department that, has 8,000-9,000 members, you're talking about a significant financial burden.
Yeah.
And there's always a financial burden on the fire service, right? There's always money to be spent somewhere that we don't have, and we have to make decisions. So I guess I can understand not buying PFAS-free gear until your gear needs to be replaced. But when you're starting to replace gear, you really should give it a good look and think about it. We had some issues early on with the seam tape failing in some of the gear. Those issues have been resolved. Is the gear as durable? Time will tell. It probably isn't, because PFAS really plays a big role in protecting, from getting oil and things in your gear. The newer stuff might not be as good. That's a trade-off, right? We gotta trade. Sometimes you gotta make those sacrifices in one area to protect another, and that's just what we gotta do.
Yeah, that's a good view. And I mean, some people would say, like, what about, everything in moderation? Because, we don't want to lose, especially if you're not in a busy department, you're not wearing your gear as often, and then you go to put it on, you don't want to have that shock effect. So, is it good to do, from your studies, like, could you do it in moderation? Could you do, like, one workout a week in gear, and then immediately shower? Some people You mentioned that, like, if you're wearing long clothes under your gear and then you immediately shower after that workout, it can help make sure that you're reducing that exposure factor.
So I don't know if there's a lot of research. I know there is some research around skin absorption and PFAS, and there's some questions there still. There's a lot of questions around PFAS exposure and what it does. But from what we're seeing that it does, it's not great. I would say err on the side of caution around PFAS. Try to limit it as much as you possibly can. Look, I mean, working out in gear, like doing exercising in your turnout gear, are you gaining a ton of additional experience in that? Could you put on like a denim Carhartt jacket and wear an SCBA over that and work
Mm,
out and get kind of the same effect? You probably could, or spend the money and get a set of gear that is designed to work out in. I
yeah.
mean, I put a lot of emphasis in my department here in Ogunquit around health and safety. And a few years back, we bought basically a CrossFit gym. And honestly, we put it on the apparatus floor, which is not a recommended practice, but we don't have it in any other space. So I think that the benefit of working out outweighs the risk of being exposed to diesel exhaust. And we put things into place, like we have prime events. We make sure people wipe stuff down. So we've got some stuff in there. And would it be great to have a separate gym? Absolutely. But the benefit of those guys working out and being able to work out on duty and be able to do functional fitness instead of just walking on a treadmill upstairs, hidden in the closet, or doing a little bit of weightlifting upstairs, hidden in the closet. They're working out together. They're improving their health. And I think that the risk of having it on the apparatus floor is not as great as it would be if I said don't work out at all because it's on the apparatus floor, right? So
Yeah.
that's a sacrifice I was willing to make based on my knowledge that workout is probably more important to their health and wellness than it is to try to find $1 million to have a renovation so I can put a gym someplace else.
Yeah. I know you're right. Like, I love the fact you're hitting on the physical fitness side of it too, because I did actually have a podcast with the owner of Karna Bunker Gear, and he really hit on the fact that your physical fitness plays in a lot of battling cancer or reducing your effects of cancer, I should say. And that, you're actually killing off some possible cancer cells growing by being healthy, eating healthy, living a clean life, especially working out. It's going to prolong that and hopefully help you be healthier and not get cancer. And I never really thought about like working out and cancer being hand in hand. We think about cardiovascular, but not the cancer side of it. And the numbers and the information that he gave was actually pretty good.
Yeah, it's interesting when you start doing research around what we could do to prevent cancer. It really comes down to anything you can reduce your cardiac risk, you're reducing your cancer risk as well. And diet, believe it or not, exercise and diet, I think in particular, can play a big role. I think physical fitness is super important. It shouldn't be overlooked, and it's a critical factor in our job performance. We are tactical athletes. I love that term because that's what we are.
We are.
We really need to maintain our fitness because when the bell goes off and you need to, hit it at 110%, if you haven't been training, that puts you at a greater risk for a whole bunch of things. So having that buffer, that fitness buffer in there, and even if you get cancer, that fitness buffer is important. If you're super healthy when you go into cancer, your chances of getting through it are much greater than if you are, obese and sickly all the time. It's not going to be a good, pleasant, or it's never going to be a good, pleasant experience, but it certainly is not going to work as well for you. You won't bounce back as quick. You won't recover as well from chemo, all that stuff. So that's important. But diet plays such a huge role too. Michael Pollan wrote a book in defense of food. I don't know if, Food Inc. is the movie that kind of goes with it, but he talks about, eating simply non-processed foods, like eat clean, don't overeat, and eat a lot of plants. And those three things, it's eat real food, and not too much, and mostly plants is this thing. And that really sums it up. I mean, if you look at diets for the fire service, you can probably look at the Mediterranean diet as probably one of the better ones from the research I've done. And I'm no dietitian. In fact, I struggle with weight a lot. I don't eat as well as I should, and I know that. But I always try to improve what I'm eating every day. If you watch, there's a TED Talk called "Eating to Starve Cancer" by Dr. William Lee. That's pretty amazing. And he talks about this process called androgenesis, where it's the blood cells in our system will attach to cancers, and cancer can't grow without a blood supply. And that process is called androgenesis. And there are actually certain foods that can slow that or stop it altogether. So to say that your diet could impact your cancer outcome, or if you get cancer, changing your diet could actually make your cancer less impactful to your body, is pretty documented through research. So if folks really want to know more about it, it's Dr. William Lee, "Eating to Starve Cancer" is the name of the TED Talk. And it's pretty eye-opening when you watch it. It kind of is amazing that, you can eat raspberries and things like that have certain properties to them that really can fight cancer. And it's pretty amazing stuff.
Oh, I love it. That's great information, Chief. I really appreciate that. I'll definitely have to look into that. And William Lee, is it Lee?
Li.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad I
He's
asked.
from Harvard. He's a Harvard researcher. It's interesting. He's got a whole foundation too on androgenesis. It's an interesting.
I love it. Now, also, we do a lot, and I know the departments have been pretty much better with it, is cleaning afterwards. And I'm sure you talk about that in your presentation that you give. Now we have a bunch of various wipes and soaps. Do these soaps, are they beneficial? Are these wipes good?
Yeah, we use the term post fire exposure reduction or exposure instead of decon, and it starts with the whole wet decon removes like 85%, and then you got to get down to your body, right? So that's where the wipes and showering and the soaps and stuff. And the reality is what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to remove as much of that off your system as you can, off your skin, which is a large organ, right? So the wipes that are out there that are marketed, most of them are pretty similar. I always aim for something large that you can use and it's easy. On a surface space up here to clean and wipe down and your neck and stuff. And they make a difference. They do. It's breaking that cycle, but you could just use soap and water too. I mean, it's all the same. Now soaps, they're probably not all created the same. I would look for something that has been tested, and proven, and you can see the information on it instead of buying, most of the ones that I've seen out there that are marketed directly to firefighters by either firefighters or family members of firefighters are pretty well done and well put together, and I doubt that they have any ill effects. But I wouldn't go looking for on Temu or some aftermarket website to try to find some cheap knockoff soap that gets shipped over from someplace else that you have no clue how it's been vetted or looked at. And it's about breaking the oily smoke off of your skin and getting it out of your system. The question of saunas always comes up as a way to kind of detoxify your body, and there is a research around it that it kind of plays into this whole cleaning your skin thing. And I think initially there was a lot of concern that it was going to create heart or condition or make problems worse because you take somebody from a superheated environment, throw them in another one, and it creates a problem. I think that's been alleviated for the most part. And I don't discourage people from using saunas. I think that they have a value, but I think the value should be, it should be a daily use kind of thing, or weekly instead of just after a fire. I think the detoxification of your body through sweat, the research seems to me when I look at it is it's something that it's a process that you get into. It's not a one time and done thing. So if people are saying, well, I do a sauna and then I take a shower after that and the smell is all gone. Well, of course it's all gone because you actually opened your pores up through sweating, which you could do by working out too. And then you took a shower and you washed the residual stuff that was stuck there off. The smell of smoke coming off your body and the exposure to toxins, they can't be correlated. You still could have exposure with no smell. So
Mhm.
I don't want people getting wrapped up in the fact that, well, I smell like smoke, so I've been exposed. Well, just because you smell like smoke, yeah, you've been exposed. You know you've been exposed. But even without that smell, you still have a exposure that happened.
That's great information, Chief. I love that. And so a lot of stuff that we just talked about, is that in your presentation that you give all around?
Yep, all of it is. Yep. That
That's great.
presentation is very comprehensive. And I'd love to have people come. If you're coming to FDIC, I don't know what day I'm teaching. I think it's a Wednesday afternoon at like 5 o'clock. So I got one of the late spots just before the drinking happens. But you can come to my class and I'll tell you how much not to drink that night. And then you can just break all the rules and tell me the next day how bad you were. Because I'm okay with that.
I love it. Yeah, so your FDIC, this is gonna be, you said your ninth year doing this?
I think it's my ninth year going. Yep.
That's amazing. And it is such a great message. Just, I think, an important topic that everybody knows about, but I don't think they educate themselves as much as they should. And again, we're all in a way or shape or form guilty of doing something, and then it's the fire service. We love what we love. We love our heritage. We love our legacies, and then it's usually it always is. It's always the case. We're always so reactive. It's when somebody passes away or somebody has the cancer diagnosis, and we get so upset, we get so scared about it, and then we start taking care of it, and then we kind of forget it again, and then something else happens, and then just that vicious cycle that it's hard to keep. And I understand it's hard to keep up on it in a way. You think
Okay.
about it, like, I love working out and I love working out my gear, but at the same time, I do understand that there is those. It's not good. Then there's a problem with it. But you, at the same time, like, man, I want to get my reps in. I want to get fit. I want to be the best I can be on the fire ground. And it's still such a hot topic, like we talked about, and it is an important one. And I think that when we can have these discussions, when we can actually have educated and data driven discussions, because there's some people at the kitchen table that will, when you try to have those discussions, they get in these screaming matches, right? Like
Yep.
there you got the people who are, I know I'm going to work out in gear and that's it. It doesn't hurt. And other people are going to be vehemently saying, no, you're wrong. And you're going to give yourself cancer. And the two collide, and it's crazy. But like when you can actually come together as adults and have both data and knowledge, you can really help each other out.
Yeah, I mean, I think you do you, I'll do me, and if we disagree, and so be it. But I always tell folks, like if you can do one thing to mitigate your risk, you're doing something. So
Hmm.
work at one thing at a time, or work at a couple things at a time. If working on your gear is really important to you, work on your gear. Just when you go to the fire, don't go in the fire without it. Like, wear your SCBA. Don't take the mask off. Like, don't be doing overhaul without being on air. You've worked really hard in your gear. You've built up your conditioning so you can be on air longer. Use it. Use that tool. Don't do overhaul without it. Like, if
Yeah.
you're not on air, you shouldn't be in a building that has been burnt. You really shouldn't. It's really that simple.
And we see
You
it with
know?
car fires too, right? You see a
Yeah.
lot of it. You see a lot of videos on there, and
Fun.
again, it's hard to not sit there and be an armchair quarterback. But when you see those videos and those pictures, and there they are, no mask on, and I mean, car fires are the friggin' worst. Like, that is just such bad stuff coming back in your face, and even like I've seen people work dumpster fires and not
Yep.
wearing their gear. You don't know what's in that dumpster, and then it's all blowing back in your face. Like, just prepare yourself.
The car fire thing drives me crazy because I have yet to see them rebuild a car that has been on fire and drive it around. So why are you risking getting cancer for something that is going to get towed away and crushed?
Hmm.
What's the point? I mean, if it's up against the building, great, take the risk. But on the highway, the thing could burn. I mean, why do you got to do? Why? What's the point? It's fun. Yeah, I get that. Like, I'm a firefighter first. Like, I love fighting fire. But what's the point of taking all that risk? Like, why? No one should ever get cancer from a car fire. I mean, we should never be that close. Like, still can't understand it.
I'm kind of on the same boat with you, Chief. Especially when it's on the highway and there's no exposures. Like, what are we doing? Like I've said before, like, what's it going to do? Like, what is the rush? Like, we go crazy.
It's gonna burn
And again,
out.
right? It's going to burn out. And I get it. We're firefighters. We love fire. It's
Right?
stretching a line, putting water on it. It's cool, but like it is a car on fire,
Yep.
and there's nothing else going on. So like, what are we really doing here? But having that mask on, just again, the car's not going anywhere. So have that time to be able to mask up appropriately and put all your gear on, right?
Yep.
It's not going anywhere. So with you and your department, before we lose track of that as well, you have a really cool department. By the way, I love Ogunquit. I think it's one of the most beautiful vacation places. I go there with my family all the time, and that's where you and I met. I stopped by to introduce myself of, doing the head nozzles, and since you guys took delivery of them, and I did a lot of video just literally walking around the town. I love that whole community. So you have one station?
Yeah, we're a tiny little department. One station. We cover 4 square miles. We have about 1,500 people year round, and we can blossom to 25,000 in the summer. So we have this big swing, which is a challenge because we have two career members on duty 24/7. We bump up to a third in the summer, so we have 3 on duty, and that's not enough. Obviously, right? Like, so we do about 1,100 calls a year total. I mean, it's not crazy busy. I came from Portsmouth, New Hampshire, where we had 13 people on duty, did like 7,000 runs a year, to this, and there's a lot of similarities, and then there's a ton of differences. It's the small town, and I grew up in this area. Like, I mean, I started here as a junior firefighter when I was 14, and came back as chief at the end of my career, which I think was kind of cool. But it's it poses its challenges for sure. We've had a pretty robust fires over the last year and a half or so. We've had some pretty major fires that have challenged us. We had a fully involved fire down in Perkins Cove that 3 guys rolled up into, and there was a challenge for them, wind driven. And then following that, we had a restaurant burned right next to the firehouse that came in as a fire alarm, and threw the guys off. And it's not something you see a lot in a department like this, but the folks that work here have done a really good job with training and understanding that it is a unique town, and that we are going to be faced with unique challenges, so we have to address them. Even to the point where we bought a marine unit, a rescue boat, last year, 24. We purchased it. It went in service in the spring. And we used it about 6 or 7 times this summer, and actually made a pretty significant rescue late in the year up in Wells. And without that, those people would have had to wait 40 minutes for the Coast Guard to show up to pluck them off their boat that was sinking. So it makes a big difference in a small community to actually have the tools and training that you would expect from a big city.
So tell me about that rescue, because I was reading a bit about it, but I want to hear it straight from you. It took not just your department, but you also had the Coast Guard involved as well, correct?
Yeah, it was actually in Wells, right off Moody Beach in Wells. Was a set of big rocks, and a boat got hooked up on the rocks and started taking on water. Wells Fire went up and got eyes on it, and called for our marine unit. The on-duty crew responded with 3 guys on the boat. Called for Coast Guard support. Coast Guard's quite a ways away. The closest here is Portsmouth. They're our catchment area, Portland. So they're a good 30 to 40 minutes by the time they get notified to get here. So it's a long wait. The guys responded, ID'd the boat. Boat operator did a great job getting into the surf, close to the rocks. Plucked 2 of them off. The boat got swept away again by another wave and got back up onto the rocks, and they kind of waited a minute while the things kind of settled, and then went back in for a couple more tries, and finally got the other 2 off and brought them over to Wells Harbor, where they were met by EMS and evaluated, and nobody was really injured. There was a few bumps and bruises, but nothing big. But it speaks volumes to the guys here in my department. Frankie Bruno was the operator of the boat, with Lyle McKay and Zach Gobin as the crewmates, and they worked together to make sure the timing and stuff worked out right. And Frankie, thank God, he's a lot. And he has a boat of his own, so he's experienced, which is great. But he spent all summer helping his crews and helping members of the department develop their skills with the boat. So I think anybody could have done what Frankie did. It just happened to be a good a good fit for that moment and a big confidence builder for everybody that the boat was well worth its money that we spent on it, and that it worked out in a really good light. And he never even the boat doesn't have any dings or didn't hit the prop or anything. So I give him kudos there. I didn't have to pay for any repairs. Chiefs like that.
Yeah, I bet. That's great. And so with that whole team effort and the multi-agency response, they were awarded something.
Yeah, so in our department, we developed some awards. We've been going through some policy modifications, but we implemented some awards: a life-saving award, a marine rescue award, a heroism award, a bunch of different awards that you want to recognize people when they do good things. So they were the first ones to receive the Marine Rescue Award. We gave them a life-saving award and a unit citation for those actions. And we also recognize the other departments around us, the ones that were initially involved in that rescue, the Wells guys and the Wells EMS folks that were kind of like in the early stages of it or treated the patient. We gave them unit citations as well from our department, because it's a team effort, right? We all work together. And without that team, it wouldn't have been successful. So we felt we should award them all.
I love it. That's great. Yeah, definitely, recognize your members for going above and beyond. And I think that's fantastic. And that speaks volumes as leadership and making sure everyone's, gets their due recognition of working hard, working together. I mean, teamwork, that's amazing that for one outcome is to save others, especially in a situation like that. It's not that easy doing those marine rescues. And like you said, your area is very unique. And if no one's ever been to Ogunquit, Maine, I highly recommend you go. It is a real awesome vacation spot, and you'll see exactly what we're talking about there. The beaches are beautiful, a lot of rocks. It's it's very condensed in your one little area, but there's a lot going on, especially in the summertime. And you guys are so close to other towns as well. And it seems like you guys work really, really well with your neighboring communities.
Yeah, all of us in this area, we all have to rely on each other. So we have a really good mutual aid system. The Seacoast Fire Chiefs, we're part of the Seacoast Fire Chiefs Mutual Aid, which is 57 towns or so that are involved in it. And we're also part of, we have auto aid with Wells and York Beach and South Berwick for structure fires in all of our communities. And we all have to rely on each other. We're all so close. Like we're closer to parts of York than York can get there. So a lot of times they'll rely on us to kind of get there and get our eyes on things first. And they have a great group of folks over there. Like they turn out like crazy when we call them. We get plenty of help from them. We get plenty of help from Wells. They got 4 people on staff all the time. South Berwick's a little bit of a haul, but when you call, they come, and they come in force. So they'll send an engine with 7 people on it and it's great to have them show up. So when we have a fire, our 2 on duty guys and the 3 or 4 that come back on call get outnumbered pretty fast by people from around. That's how we make it work, right? The town's never going to have funding to have 15, 16 people on duty. And really, it's too small to even think about that. I don't even know where I'd put them in the station. I barely have room for 3. But yeah, we have to work together. That's how we keep our ISO ratings correct, where they should be, by having mutual aid agreements. And we're pretty lucky in this area. We have some really good ones.
That's great, Chief. I love it. Yeah, agencies and departments working together again for the one mission and helping each other when the tones drop and they need help. I don't know anybody who turns away and goes, "No, I'm not going to help that department. I'm not going to help that town." Like that's just what we do. We help each other regardless. We don't question it. And
hey, you may not get along with everybody, but when the bells go off, everybody's doing the same thing, and that's where you can put everything aside and you can go ahead and make sure you're doing what's best for the person who called. That's who we serve. We might be serving each other, but it's really about the person that is in need at the moment, and we take care of them first.
Absolutely. I think that's you hit it right there. And I was just going to say is that you could literally hate the person next to you, but once those tones drop and you go to work, like you forget all about that person and you focus on the mission at hand. And people would like from the outside looking in, you think like you're best friends with that person standing next to you on that hose line. And then once it's done, you go back and you're like, yep, I still hate you and I hate you more. And
Yep.
then, but again, we go back and you work together and everything's good. It's just amazing how we are able, I think, as the fire service and first responder field, we're able to put our differences aside when people need us the most.
Yeah, it's about the people we serve. Even in that with the Firefighter Cancer Support Network, like, I mean, we take care of the firefighter that's diagnosed, and that's what it's about. That's what our main mission is to take care of firefighters that have got cancer. And there's no better way to do that than find another firefighter that's survived cancer to talk to. And that's really how the FCSN came about, and really what the focus was. It's all about helping people and connecting.
I love it. And I'm going to share the screen real quick because I have the website up for people to see it. So here it is, the Firefighter Cancer Support Network. It's right here, firefightercancersupport.org. You guys can go on to that. They're really good actually with the social media aspect of it. So if you guys ever have any questions or looking for information where they're going to be or what they do, it's all here. They describe who they are, their impact, how you can get involved. It's a really good source of information. You have it right here in front of you. It's just for anybody who's actually just listening, not watching. They have your data on here as well. They have resources for if you need to give information to your department, if you're looking to do a presentation to your department, they have the information here. They have helpful links. They have press media releases. Anything you're going to need to help educate your department. If you're starting a new venture in your department, if you're developing a committee for cancer to take care of the cancer prevention within your department, this is a source really to go to. They do a really good job with it. So I love what you guys are doing. It really is a fantastic source of information. And honestly, like the people I've met within the whole organization, all of you guys have been fantastic. I love talking to you guys, and just so passionate about what you guys do.
It's a good group of people. They really are. And a lot of them are cancer survivors. Everybody's been impacted by it. The funny thing in the fire service is that I have yet to ask a question at a conference or training. Has anyone not been affected by cancer? And it used to be, hey, stand up if you've known somebody that's been diagnosed with cancer. And it just got boring after a while because everybody's standing up. So like everybody has seen this. Like I can't make a better example than everybody standing up, but we shouldn't be still talking about the same things over and over again for 10 years. We really need to start taking some steps forward and making some changes. And it really starts with each individual deciding that enough's enough. I mean, I'm not perfect by any means. I've made mistakes. I continue to make mistakes, but as long as we learn from them and we move forward, that's kind of the goal, right?
Absolutely. Well, Chief, I love this conversation so much. I really appreciate you being on the C.A.N report and giving us important information to all of us. As we're closing up here, where can people find you, or if they have questions and need information, how can they get a hold of you?
Sure. I mean, I'm listed on the Firefighter Cancer Support Network's website, but my email is rosgood@fcsn.org. Feel free to send me an email, whatever questions you have. I'd be happy to help you. I have a team of people that work for me, so it might not be me that answers you because I also am a firefighter chief and I still go on calls because I love it and I do all kinds of other things. So I do have a group of folks that work with me to make all this stuff possible. And so it might be one of them that reach out to answer your question. And I'm not an expert in everything by any means. So I may send you to somebody that I know is a lot smarter in a subject than I am to get your answers. But feel free to reach out through email. Our website's got a little link in there where you can ask questions or whatever you want, and they distribute it to a group of folks that will answer those questions. And Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month's coming up in January. There's going to be tons of resources on our website throughout January. Each week there's a different theme. I've got a great guy named Scott Jenny in California that kind of leads that charge for us. And he's done a wonderful job working with the IFF, putting together a great program for Firefighter Cancer Awareness Month. So January is the month where we want folks to really focus on taking steps to reduce their risk and understanding in their departments what they can do and maybe make some changes.
I love the message, Chief. Absolutely. You guys heard it here. Also, I know there's a Northeastern Fire Summit that's going to be coming up in March in Wells, Maine. Will you be there as well?
I haven't asked to teach, but I have not. Well, I usually always attend, so I should be there. And
Great.
I'll talk to Rusty because I think we should have a booth there anyway. We usually do. So
Yeah, there was one last year, and,
Yeah.
and Dave was there, and I got to talk with him and give a little bit about what you guys do. So I hope to see you guys again there. So Northeastern Fire Summit will be at Wells, Maine. If you are a Fools member or not a Fools member, you can still attend to these programs and these training courses. A lot of good information that they present, and this network, Firefighter Cancer Support Network, is one of those, and very, very important. And if you're at FDI, Chief Russell Osgood will be there presenting his information about cancer and how to prevent this and what you need to do to make yourself healthy and be there for your family.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing everyone.
Yeah, I look forward to seeing you too, Chief. This is going to be a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being on the C.A.N Report again, and I really appreciate all the hard work you're doing. I know sometimes for what you're doing, people don't see it, right? It kind of goes unnoticed, but I think it's very important that we all have our roles, and yours is extremely important. And again, if anybody is ever in Ogunquit, Maine, especially during the summertime, stop by the Ogunquit fire station and visit the chief. They're all really, really nice people there. Bruno and yourself both have amazing mustaches. So if you guys are looking for both of you guys have strong mustaches, sir. So I appreciate you so much again. So you all take care. You be safe. And here we go. Nozzle Tov.
Nozzle Tov. Have a great night, man.
You too, sir.